Make every night a wonderful journey, no matter where you are. Good night, sweet dreams. The first story, my daughter. I love my daughter. She is just the right person who can help me live. Everything about her is perfectly silky, long, flowing blonde hair, her beautiful blue eyes, her light skin. She is the greatest child I have ever had, and ever will have. She has the personality of an angel. I hope that she never grows up out of all her countless siblings. She is my favorite. We live in a house in Reed's Road, New Jersey. It is such a pretty house. It lights up red every night with the decorations I put outside of it. My daughter loves it. She usually ignores it, dismissing it as trash. But that's just kids for you, aren't they? I should perhaps give some background on my daughter. Her name is Cherry. Our favorite season when we are together is autumn. While I'm with her, talking about how all the seasons seem to change so fast, everything feels better for me. I feel alive around Cherry, as well as all of my sons and daughters. This particular night was a cold, bitter, breezy and quiet October night, just the way we like it. We were both lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling aimlessly. We were discussing nature, and how the leaves on the trees seem to die so fast around this time of year. I looked to her and smiled. She turned her head away from me, and my smile dissolved into a frown. "Why are you turning away from me?" I asked her casually, tilting my head. No answer. My frown quickly sunk even farther. But then I smiled again. "How about a game of tag, my dearie?" Still no answer. I looked to all of my other children, who were looking quite sleepy. Cherry herself was quite tired looking as well, her eyes half shut. The kiddies looked cold as well, their bodies shivering various times. I smiled warmly at them, closing all the windows, before holding them in my arms and rocking them back and forth. One by one they were very pale in the faces, and were all very messy, with reddish liquid stains on their little bodies. Silly little kiddies, always forgetting to wash up. Written by the K. Orongo. The second story, Tower of Silence. Indian officials venture deep jungle, investigating several missing persons reports from a nearby city. What they found was a Tower of Silence, or DAC HMA. Sir Streisand used these sites to dispose of bodies in the open air. While sites like these are not uncommon in certain parts of India, several peculiarities hint at something more unusual. One, none of the bodies depicted in the photograph were identified. Villagers from nearby, though initially surprised at the sheer number of corpses in the DAC HMA, proved unable to recognize the bodies. The corpses also do not match the descriptions of the missing people. There were no animals around except for maggots and flies. Sir Streisand rely on birds, that is buzzards, to dispose of the bodies, in the belief they are contributing back to the earth. Officials found the corpses relatively untouched by any sort of animal. 3. There is no official count of the bodies. In fact, little work was actually accomplished at the site. Perhaps this is why only one photograph has emerged. Officials avoided the spot not only because they felt uneasy looking at it, but for the following as well. 4. The deep pit in the center of the photograph was filled with several feet of festering blood, far more than the bodies on the outside could ever supply. The stench was so unbearable that many of the officials began to get nauseous when they first approached the DAC HMA. 5. The expedition was ended when a villager accidentally kicked a small bone into the pit, penetrating the coagulated surface of the pool. A massive burst of gas from the decomposing blood erupted from the pit, splashing those looking into it, along with the photographer. Those caught in the explosion were immediately sent to the hospital, where they were quarantined for possible infection. They became delirious with fever, shouting about being tainted with the blood of Ahriman, the personification of evil in Zoroastrians, despite never having admitted having any familiarity with the religion. In fact, many of them had no idea what the Dakesh Name was when they had found it. Delirium turned to insanity, as many began to attack hospital staff until they were sedated. The fever eventually killed all of them. When officials returned with HAZMAT gear the following day, the site was empty. All the bodies had been removed and, astonishingly, the pool of blood in the pit had been drained. All that remained of the incident was this photograph. The Zoroastrian HMA. The third story, $8. While walking to school one day with my friend Molly, she was humming happily, which is not at all like her. I asked her what had happened and she said, "I met this great guy named Chris. He was just like me, had a green mohawk and blue eyes, and he loved the same buns. He took me to the little yogurt shop by Morrison's and I said, 'Do you have enough?' And he said, 'Oh, don't worry, I have $8. Can you believe a guy would do that for me?' We were all very happy for her, but something didn't seem right. I couldn't figure out what it was. The next day, our homeroom teacher stood in front of the room. She said, 'I have some very bad news. Last night, the police found Molly Lewis's dead body in the park. She will be missed and remembered at the school as the girl who stood up for anyone.' I was devastated. Molly was one of my closest friends. I began to cry. There was a thud. Everyone looked to see what had hit the floor. Izzy had fainted. A week or so later, Emma came running. I met an awesome boy named Ryan. She shrieked. Blue eyes, blonde hair, tan skin. He's so much like me. He took me to the CD store and I said, 'Can you afford the Enya album?' And he said, 'Oh, don't worry. I have $8. Isn't it amazing? That's a little weird. Katie put in. The last guy Molly dated said the same thing. It's a small world. Katie, tons of people only have $8. I told her, yeah, that's possible. Katie said with a shrug. The next day, Emma did not return to school. We figured she had probably broken her arm again surfing. The teacher looked even sadder. Emma Neal was murdered last night, she said. They found her mutilated corpse in the park. The police are searching for the murderer. We couldn't believe it. Emma will be treasured in our hearts. So Izzy, Casey, and I all met up the next week. Alright. Who met the $8 guy? Izzy threatened. Casey began to cry. Matt's gonna kill me. She sobbed. We tried to come up with a strategy, so that night, we convinced Katie's mother to chain Katie to the bed. The teacher looked at the class. The loss of Caitlin pains me, as much as I'm sure pains you. The police are absolutely clueless. I hope they find him. A month later, Izzy called me and said, I met some dude named Jacob. I know I'm going to die next. $8 line and all. WENEDTOLTHEPOLSE. I started freaking out. We could try, but we need to talk to paranormal experts, Izzy. The guy always looks different, and it's possible it could be a group of boys, but I got a strong feeling about this one. That night I called Izzy to take her to the police station, but the police were already at the park. where they had found Izzy's lifeless body. I explained to the police everything. They nodded in agreement to my theories and agreed to let me stay in the station for the night. While I was there, I saw a cute guy my age who was also staying the night. He had long dark brown hair, dark brown eyes, and tan skin. "Hey, I'm Becky." He looked up. "I'm Noah." We chatted for a while before he said, "God, I am fucking starved. How about you?" "I guess," I said absently. "Here, let's go to the park and get something from the vending machines. Do you have enough?" Don't worry, I have $8.